Whether this is your child's first year going to school or getting back into the classroom, they'll be riding in their car seats a lot in the coming months. It's always important to make sure your child's car seat is properly installed and following our state's laws. So we're joined right now by attorneys Brandon Dawson and Jeffrey Ward with the Thumbs Up Guys to go over everything you need to know about car seats and booster seats. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Great to have you guys here. I remember this when I was that age. I was begging my mom to get out of the booster seat, sit in the real seat. So this is something that all of us have to deal with definitely when we have kids. So what is the law here in South Carolina when it comes to car seats and booster seats?
Yeah, Jeff and I certainly have a lot of experience in that field. Thankfully, we're getting on the latter stages of that. But you actually mentioned the first thing that a lot of people don't think about is installing it safely. You know, you can be in it properly, but if it's not installed properly, well, it doesn't really do any good. So making sure that that car seat is installed properly. And again, it's harder than it looks. They're all, it's like, I mean, you know, every time I was putting in a new kid's car seat, you know, I'm like looking at the book and making sure it's safe. And you got the seat belt, you've got the locking things. It's a lot. So if you're not sure, you can go by the fire station and they will do a test and make sure that it is safely installed. After that, they look at height and age. Really, height is the biggest dictating factor, but South Carolina law kind of defaults to manufacturer guides there. So 2 and under, rear facing, 2 to 4, they can turn that car seat around forward facing. 4 and over, they're looking at height more than anything to say, hey, do they need to be in a booster seat? So if you have a 6 foot, 8-year-old, well, then they don't need to be in a booster seat. You know, there's not many of those out there. But you're looking for that seatbelt to go across the lap, not the stomach. I've represented a kid that was in an improper safety harness, and he ended up having internal injuries because the seatbelt was across his stomach in the wreck. It's not supposed to be there. You're supposed to have the shoulder harness across you. It's not going across their neck or their face. I yell at my kids all the time when they're trying to do that. So really making sure that when your kids are in the car that they are properly using the restraints. But that's kind of the guidelines there.
Yeah. Did you go ahead?
Oh no, I was just to reiterate.
Just
echo everything Brandon said. But I have such vivid memories as a first-time parent with our oldest daughter, installing that car seat and not getting it to tighten down. No matter what I did, you have to pull it a certain way, and it can be frustrating. And at a certain point, you just want to give up. But please don't do that.
Go to the experts.
If nothing else, go to your local nearest fire station and they can do it for you. But Brandon's right. It doesn't matter. All safety precautions about a car seat are great, but if it's not installed correctly, it doesn't matter how well they're strapped in. If it's not installed like it should, they're still going to be injured if, God forbid, you get in a wreck.
Yeah, so what does happen? What should a parent do if their child does get injured, if another driver causes that wreck?
It's no different than if you yourself were injured. You make sure your child gets immediate medical care if it's needed. They're smaller, they're more fragile, but luckily they're also more resilient at the same time. So you see a lot of stuff that happens to kids, you think, oh God, if that happened to me, I wouldn't be able to walk for months, and they're back up and moving. And don't take that as a sign as they're okay. You still want them to get checked out. You want to make sure if they need a scan to make sure something's not broken or torn, make sure that happens. If they're complaining, don't ignore it and brush it off as them just being kids. They're going to complain if something's hurting them, if that's what kids do, but don't just, chalk it up to just another complaint that you hear every day. If something's happened, like a wreck, and they are showing any physical signs of pain, make sure you pay attention to that, get them the care they need. And even if they're not, you still want to get them checked out because, the internal stuff, they might not be able to vocalize what's hurting them, especially if they're younger. So they need to be checked out by medical professionals as quickly as possible.
Thank you both. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that Jeff nailed it there. I had mentioned earlier I had the poor child who had an internal injuries. You wouldn't have seen any of that, but he was complaining. He was young, but he was complaining. He was crying a lot, and he was kind of touching his stomach. Thankfully, MUSC did a great job. They did all the proper testing, diagnosed it, and he had to have emergent surgery. And thankfully, still alive to this day, and have been able to see him grow up, and it's been amazing. But again, it's making sure you're getting that proper care, and if they're in the proper seats, that doesn't happen as well. So again, the car seats are great. They really do prevent a lot of injuries. And Jeff mentioned kids are very resilient, but it's no different than any other wreck. If it happens, let's get checked out, and we'll call us with any questions.
Yeah, one other thing I'll make sure to add is when police respond, passengers don't always make it on a police report. And that's just a hurdle you'll have to jump or deal with down the road, where I've seen it happen where adjusters will try to argue that this person was not in the car with them because they're not on the police report. And then now we have to go further to prove that that actually happened, where it could have been taken care of at the front end by making sure the responding police officer records everyone that was in the car, gets names, ages, things like that. So there's a separate section of all passengers, and sometimes that's just left blank. And we want to make sure that any children are also listed anytime a wreck happens.
Yeah, some really important tips from both of you. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much. And guys, you can learn more about the Thumbs Up guys. If you have any questions and you want to ask them, you can call that number or go to inpain.com.